No hands on people then. No, okay.
Hi Andy.
Hi, Mark. You alright?
Yeah, you.
Yeah, not too bad, mate.
Andy, it's been a great start to the season, which has surprised many people in football, but has it surprised the players a little bit?
I think any team coming up first season in the Premier League from obviously getting promoted, 6 points out of 2 games, it's the best possible start obviously, so I wouldn't say it surprised us, but obviously it is an added bonus getting the 6 points, and it means we can look forward to this game with no real pressure on us, because going into the international break with a bit of your hand off for 6 points, so it means we've got a free hit at Man United, and hopefully we can add to that tally.
How important is that psychologically, the fact that it is a free hit and that there is quite pressure on the players?
Yeah, of course, because going into the international break with maybe 1 point or 3 points, whatever, there's already pressure on you, and you don't want that. But 6 points is a good tally, and some people can't get to that just now because of what points they've got. So we're in a good position going into the first international break, and that's what you've just got to try and tick off. You've just got to go by kind of 3 games by 3 games and keep going to the international breaks, and hopefully you're still sitting in a good position come the end.
Tell us about the atmosphere in the dressing room. Has the chaos off the field created an inner strength?
I think so. I think they're probably the closest we've been. The players that are fit, only 13 of us, but I think we're a tight group, and we're getting on with the task in hand. The coaches are helping, and we just focus on what's happening on the pitch, and we're probably training a wee bit lighter than they would due to the lack of numbers, but other than that, there's no change, and we're just looking forward to every Saturday, and luckily just now we're getting the results.
And Mike Phelan has taken a lot of plaudits for the win so far. Most of the players we spoke to have said the same thing, that they would like him to get the job. Has he impressed you? Yeah,
very impressive with all the stuff that's going on, and like you said, the lack of players and all that, and the way he's conducted himself throughout the whole saga as such has been very good, and that's his experience of being at Man United, and working under such a great manager, and I'm sure that's helped, and I'd like to see him to get the job now, as we've all grew closer together, and obviously he's got 3 wins and he's undefeated, so I think he should get the job, but that's up to the people up above, and but hopefully they make the right choice.
And Manchester United this weekend, you were linked with them last year. How special is it for you to be facing United with some of the star names they've recruited this summer?
Yeah, of course, obviously your Pogba's and Ibrahimovic's and stuff like that, and you want to play against the best players. Luckily I got to play against Pogba back end of last season with Scotland, and he controlled the game against us, and I'm hoping that's not the case on Saturday, because when you let a player do that, then he can cause harm, and he was brilliant that night, but hopefully we can keep him quiet and the rest of them. But there's that many good players that you can't focus on 1 or 2. You need to focus on the whole team, and we need to be bang at it to get anything from the game. But we're at home, and I think we can pose a threat going forward as well, and hopefully we can grab a couple of goals, and that's enough to win the game.
Okay. Any more TVs?
Yeah, from Love North. There's the program interview with Jake Livermore going out this weekend on Football Focus. Obviously, with everything that's happened, what sort of player does he like to have around?
Jake, he's a great guy to have around. Me and Jake are really close, and I get on well with him, and he looks after me as such, and to have him about the place, he's always up to something, and from what he's been through, the back end of the season we got relegated, and the start of last season, it's commendable that he's came back and played so well. A lot of people might have crumbled under that, but it just shows you how strong a character is him. He's got a strong family behind him, I know that, and that always helps, and a good group of friends here, and we all helped him through that time, and now he's all trying to help us. He's like a leader as well, not with the armband, but he is a leader in the changing room, and he is a great guy, and I'm glad to see him back at his best and doing so well.
You laughed when I mentioned his name. He's obviously a bit of a character then.
Yeah, of course. I think if you ask any of the boys, what's Jake like, he's always up to something in the training ground, and that's the person he is. But there's a few others like that, so it's a good training ground to be around.
What sort of things does he get up to?
He'll just always wind you up. You never get a moment's peace with Jake around. There's never a boring moment with him, and that's the people you want to hang yourself about with.
When it happened, Steve Bruce said that he didn't realise that he needed help. Are the club now making more things available to you, offering help, and saying, look, if anybody does need any help?
Yeah, of course. I think obviously with the group being so small but so close, then I think the boys are a wee bit more open to talk to each other as such, as if there is any problems. Luckily we've not had many, but if there is any problems, I think we're more open to talk. Jake had obviously kept it quiet, and that's the way he kind of wanted to deal with it, which you're never going to question. But maybe if he spoke to one of the lads or somebody sooner, then it might have not happened. But that's all in the past now, and he's moved on from it, and he's probably playing the best football of his career. Finding himself in a centre back slot that he might have not found himself in under any other circumstance. But he's probably been one of our best players so far this season.
Thank you.
Okay, Terry, can stop now.